shiver. Goalkeepers, nervous strikers, they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake. 80
Hello and welcome to the Ugamadi Football Channel. So today, talking about the various topics to talk about, so we'll just go straight into it. So Kylian Mbappe smashed Man City and they're out of the Champions League. I know that's maybe old news right now, but just happy to say it. And then the Champions League draws have been made. So we'll talk about the games, talk about the fixtures, and I'll give my 2 cents on it, on what I think about those draws, as well as the Conference League draws and the UEFA Europa League draws as well. And we'll also be looking at other footballing topics in and around this past week. So let's go straight into it. Now, the UEFA League draws, the UEFA Champions League draws have been made. So let's go straight in, and I would, we'll have a look, and I will share my opinion on them. Really. So let's go into the share my screen in a minute. Okay. Yes, so it seems to be having PSV versus Arsenal. Now, with Arsenal, usually you would expect that Arsenal should be able to, defeat PSV, but PSV have been on fine form in the Champions League this season. So that's a game that I think they probably could hurt Arsenal, especially having Johan Bakayoko. He's been on fine and excellent form for the Dutch side. And Arsenal still obviously not having a striker. And I think Kai Havertz is injured. Sterling isn't that good. Trossard comes up every now and again with goals. Odegaard, I think is decent and creative, but I think that game could be, one of the upsets of this Champions League round of 16 fixtures. So keep an eye out for that one. The Benfica Barcelona. Speaking about Barcelona again, Barcelona they're not, the side that we used to know. Lewandowski is still on fine form, but there's 36 now, 37, still scoring goals. That's good. Lamine Yamal, of course, he's been good. But overall, Barcelona, I don't think, that's formidable as it used to be. Hansi Flick has been impressive with them, don't get me wrong, but with their high line, I think Benfica could be able to hurt them. But I still think they would manage to, scale through overall in the tie, obviously two-legged tie. And then the interesting one for me is Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid. That's a game I think is just set to be difficult for Real Madrid because Real Madrid, especially with Ancelotti, that can be pragmatic sometimes. You use the pace of Vinicius Junior, use the pace of, Kylian Mbappe, as he did to great effect against Man City. But with an Atletico Madrid side, obviously coached by Diego Simeone, who would be very pragmatic, decide to sit deep, defend aggressively, and make it difficult, for Real Madrid to break them down, and that could deny the likes of Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Junior the space, they need to operate, even Rodrygoish, make it difficult for them to get in behind. And if Atletico Madrid are able to get the first goal in either of the fixtures in the tie, it could be difficult for Real Madrid to get back in it. So that game is one that I think it just could be a banana skin for Real Madrid. It could be a game where Real Madrid may lose that game, and if Real Madrid loses that game, Atletico Madrid versus Arsenal, that game will be really troublesome for Arsenal. I know people are saying, "Oh, Real Madrid playing Arsenal, that will be curtains. Real Madrid will destroy Arsenal." I think for me that Arsenal stand more of a chance against Real Madrid than Atletico Madrid, because for me, not because Atletico Madrid are a better side than Real Madrid, but because their style would just counteract the style of Arteta. That's what I just think if Atletico Madrid and Arsenal should play. And then the next one is PSG versus Liverpool. Now, PSG versus Liverpool, that will be an open attacking game. Dembele has been on very good form for for PSG. They smashed Brest 7-0 in the last fixtures. So I think that game will be very, very interesting and will be an open attacking game. But I still think Liverpool, for some reason, would have an edge in that game. If it was Klopp that was still the coach of Liverpool, then I would say PSG would have the edge. Not because Klopp is a worse coach than Arne Slot, but it's just the style that Arne Slot has brought to Liverpool. They still attack, don't get me wrong, but they have this ability to defend deep, defend better, play with a lower line than under Klopp. With Klopp, exciting to watch, but even if Liverpool are 2-0 up, 3-0 up, they'll still, push out an attack, play with a high line, press aggressively, and that would have fallen into the hands of likes of Bradley Barcola for PSG. So for me, I think that game will be a nice game to watch, open attacking game, but I think Liverpool will just have the slight edge in that game. And then Club Brugge versus Aston Villa. Now that game, Aston Villa should have just a little too much for Club Brugge, just a little too much for Club Brugge, in my opinion. But upsets can always happen. But I think Aston Villa should, qualify for that one. And then Dortmund versus Lille. Now Dortmund have been a bit odd this season. They've been good to decent in the Champions League, but haven't been too great in the Bundesliga. And I think overall they're a better team than Lille and should probably win that one. But Lille, they have some weapons that could hurt, Dortmund. Of course, you have Chubapom there, and then for Dortmund, you've got Guirassy there as well. So you've got Kan Chukwuemeka that is there with them now, and you have Gittins that he's very good. He's been attracting attention from various clubs in the Premier League, including Chelsea. So that is one game that probably Dortmund could win, but an upset could be on the cards for Lille. But Dortmund should win that game. If they don't win that tie, then they should be very, very disappointed. And then the next one is almost like this is the Bundesliga derby, Bayern Munich versus Bayer Leverkusen. So, and this for me are the two top teams in Germany right now. So that game will be a tough one while competing for the league title, also competing, for the right to get into the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Now, I think for me personally, for the Bundesliga, I think Bayern Munich, they have the edge and probably would win it. And you see, it's funny, Vincent Kompany that should have been, gone down with Burnley and playing in the championship now could be heading into the quarterfinals, of the Champions League while being in a strong position, to win the German Bundesliga. See how things work. Now, the next one I'm looking at is Feyenoord and Inter Milan. Now, Feyenoord and Inter Milan, on the face of it, you would say Inter Milan should win. And rightly so, because for me, I think they have the better players, they've got the better manager. But the Italian sides this season, the Serie A sides this season in the Champions League haven't been that great, in my opinion. So I think maybe this could be a possible banana skin for, Inter Milan. But let's see how that shakes out. So what I would like to know your thoughts and opinions on the draws for the round of 16 for the UEFA Champions League. What are your thoughts and opinions on that? Who do you think will come up tops in the various ties? Let me know in the comment section. So I think so that's that for the Champions League. Now, speaking about the Champions League, there's something that happened, that wasn't really connected to football. Now, it was the I'll stop sharing this. So it was the comments and statements made by the Atalanta head coach about Ademola Lookman. Now, Ademola Lookman had been out injured for a while, and that led to Atalanta struggling both in Serie A and the Champions League, i.e. the first leg against Club Brugge. They had lost that one, lost that game, and then coming into this game, the second leg, they were losing, and then he came off from the bench and got a goal, and that was a penalty, and he missed the penalty. The penalty was saved, and Gasparini just, whether it was a head loss, was it racist, I don't know, but it was surely stupid in my opinion. I don't know what influenced him to say what he said, but it was just stupid. You don't say that. You don't say this kind of things about your top player. So I'll just share this in a minute, uh, in case you haven't seen the quotes of what he said. So I'll just share that in a minute. And yeah, so I'll share that, share my screen. It's come up there. And let's go share on here. Now, so this is what he had to say. So this Ademola Lookman is one of the worst. Ademola Lookman is one of the worst penalty takers I've ever seen. Can you imagine saying that about your own player? That is one of the worst players you've ever seen. Can you imagine saying that? He's one of the worst you've ever seen. This is what he had to say. Said that Ademola Lookman is one of the worst penalty takers I've ever seen. He wanted to take the penalty after scoring a goal. He took the ball despite Matteo Retegui and Charles De Ketelaere available to take it. I didn't like that. I didn't like what Lookman did. Now, for me, there are two ways to look at this. There are two ways to look at this. If he had said, this, there are two ways to look at this. If he had come out to say, there was a designated penalty taker in Charles and Retegui, they are the designated penalty takers. Ademola Lookman shouldn't be taking penalties. And this, believe me, this will be the last time this happens, because we want this sort of structure to exist in the team. Fine, good. We all know that. Every team, you have your designated penalty takers. Lampard used to take penalties for Chelsea. Alan Shearer used to take penalties for Newcastle. So every team has, they have their designated penalty taker. So that's fine. But to go on to say he's the worst penalty taker you've ever seen, is over 60 years. So in how many decades of coaching, he's saying that Ademola Lookman is the worst he has seen taking penalties. That even in training, unsolicited information, he just decided to be so harsh, and hypercritical of your star player. The only reason Atalanta have been in any sort of title challenge, or a title race rather, in the Serie A is because of Ademola Lookman. The reason Atalanta won, the Europa League, beating a generational Bayer Leverkusen side, it was because of Ademola Lookman scoring a hat-trick. So speaking about a player in that way, for me, just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And I'm hearing that Ademola Lookman's contract will be expiring by the end of this season, something like that. I think this is a player that clubs should be queuing to get, especially if you need that left wing position sorted out. And for me, I think as a Chelsea fan, I'll be saying Enzo Maresca, sporting directors, have a look at this guy, because he has everything you need from your wingers. He can dribble, he's got pace, and he's got goals as well. And plus his experience. His experience, he's 27 going on 28. So he's an experienced player and will do well in the Premier League, I think. So I think clubs should be, on the lookout for Ademola Lookman. So what are your thoughts on what the coach of Atalanta had to say about Ademola Lookman? Do you think it was on point, or a bit harsh, or just silly? For me, I think it was stupid, it was silly, and there was no point making those sort of statements. That's just my opinion. I'd like to know what you think. And then the Europa League, the draw for the Europa League as well, has been done, and I'd like to know what you think about it, and I'll share my 2 cents, share my opinion, about that draw. So I'll share it now. Coming up my screen, and there we go. So that's the draw we've got. We've got AZ Alkmaar taking on Spurs. So usually you would say probably Spurs could win that one, but for me that game is fair and even. I think AZ Alkmaar Spurs is it's an even contest in my opinion. And then we've got Fenerbahce versus Rangers. Now this could be an opportunity for us to see a Mourinho masterclass, a Jose Mourinho masterclass. This could be an opportunity for us to see a Jose Mourinho masterclass because we know Jose Mourinho is a manager that is built for cup football, for knockout football, and he could really show what it's all about in this one. So let's keep our eyes on that one. I think Fenerbahce stand a good chance of winning that game, especially with El Nasiri there. He's a very prolific striker. I don't know why many clubs are not really after him. For some reason, he's unfashionable. He seems to be unfashionable for top European club sides. And then Ajax versus Frankfurt. Now, I think I'll give the edge slightly to Frankfurt. So let's see how that shakes down. Roma Athletic Club. I know you have Nico Williams there. You have his brother there as well. So, but I still think Roma could edge this one. And then Bodo Glimt versus Olympiacos. So, although I have sympathy for, I don't have a soft spot this season for Olympiacos since they have Bruno Yemachi there, the Nigerian left back there. So I do have a soft spot for them going into this Europa League round of 16. So I'm going for them to win. Let's see how it happens. I think that's another fairly balanced and even tie. So maybe Olympiacos will win, but Bodo Glimt could also win as well. And then the Lyon one, I think Lyon is going to win that fairly comfortably, but you never can tell. I think they can win that one. Then we're going to Victoria Pleasant versus Lazio. Lazio, there are two Nigerian players there, so well, who do I favor in that one? But I think Lazio should have more than enough to defeat Victoria Pleasant. But if Victoria Pleasant can, if they will even have a chance to win that one, then the Nigerian striker who has come back and has been on fine form, Rafiu Durushumi, would have to be playing very, very well. And I think he's returned to the team and has been on fine form. He scored 2 goals in the first game after he returned, and then in the second game he scored, which was in the Europa League. He scored 1 goal and assisted in another. So he's taken his goal contributions so far to 3 goals and 1 assist in 2 games. And I was so sorry. He was one player. I was so sorry that he was unable to complete his move to Frankfurt because of I think he failed his medical. That would have been an excellent move for him because Frankfurt is a club that play for their striker. They play for their striker. So it would have been nice to see him, in a team where he would have been given the opportunity to really, really shine, in my opinion. Then the last one we want to look at is Real Sociedad, Manchester United. Now, if this was a decade ago, if this was maybe 5-6 years ago, you probably would say Manchester United easily would win this one, maybe smash Real Sociedad 3-0. One fixture, and the next fixture maybe beat them 2-0. But the way Manchester United have been playing, that quite an enigma this season. They've been having an enigmatic season this year. Some games, you go into the game and say, there's no way they're winning this one. They go out and they win. There's some other games, you say, don't worry. Like against a Real Sociedad, you say, okay, this is a game that they should win. No matter how bad they have been, they should win. They end up getting trounced. So this is one game that is very difficult to call, but I just have a sneaky feeling that Real Sociedad could beat Manchester United in this one. So I'm taking my neck out for this one to say Real Sociedad would defeat Manchester United. Ruben Amorim could prove me wrong, especially with Amad Diallo. I think he's out injured, so a lot of questions to answer. Rasmus Højlund hasn't been on any sort of form this season, both domestically and in Europe. And then Zexi is one of these players where he's meant to be a striker, but people say he's not quite a striker. He's someone that is an attacking creator, some weird sort of description. So he's not someone you can really rely on for goals for Manchester United. You can't really rely on him. And saying that there's nobody in Manchester United that you can point your fingers at to say, yeah, this is that guy. This is the guy that would get the goals. This is the guy that will create the chances. This is the guy that will make things happen. You've got Bruno Fernandes playing in an odd position, which is he's playing in that two-man midfield role, and people don't know how difficult that is. When you're playing in that two-man role in any sort of three at the back system, whether it's a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3, you need bags of energy to play in that two-man central midfield role. You need to be able to go box to box two-way, So your creativity is one thing, but your energy and your tank is another thing. And Bruno Fernandes isn't quite known for being that energetic box-to-box kind of player. So I think that's why he's been struggling with this system. For me, I'm not a Manchester United fan, obviously, and I like to see Manchester United suffer, and I like to see Manchester United fans cry when their team loses. But Ruben Amorim, I think he's getting it all wrong. He is getting it all wrong, right? Because we know that half this team, maybe out of 8 players, 10, even maybe up to 9 players could be gone come next season. So the style of play you say you want to implement, I want to implement my style of play, my style of football. There's no point trying to do that this season. Why not use the players that you have available, use them in a way that suits them? You play 4-3-3, and then when you're done with the season, you can then, okay, they put themselves in the shop window, clubs, and then they're gone. And now you have the opportunity to sign the players you want to sign. When you sign those players, then you have the preseason under your belt where you can then implement your style of football. But Ruben Amorim wants to do it a different way. But I just think Real Sociedad could really upset Manchester United, in this round of 16 draw. So what are your thoughts and opinion on the Europa League round of 16 draws? Let me know. And for me, Galatasaray, unfortunately, they were knocked out. They ended up drawing 2-2. They needed to win by at least 4 goals. But they lost out. The only consolation for someone like me was that Victor Osimhen was able to get a goal. He got a goal. So he's gone up to 24 goals, 24 goal contributions this season. So that shows you what he brings to the table. And I'll say it again, as a Chelsea fan, Chelsea should be rushing to get this player. Because right now, this Chelsea team doesn't just need a striker. It needs leaders. This team needs leaders on and off the pitch. So if you're going to sign another 18-year-old, another 20-year-old, that may not be the solution. You need someone that can be on the pitch, be vocal on the pitch, be a driving force on the pitch. And for me, I think Victor Osimhen has all those qualities. But let's see what the board of the sporting directors decide to do. Let's see what they choose to do, and then let's also see what Enzo Maresca does going into the Aston Villa game. And speaking about Enzo Maresca, I have to look at the interview. You remember Enzo Maresca saying no one told him about winning anything. No one told him, about competing for top 4. No one told him about competing for titles. But now it seems he's trying to walk back his statement. It's like he's trying to, reabsorb all the things he spewed out. But once you've put things into the ether, once you've put things into the universe that there, in this modern day, in this modern age of social media and all that, once you say something, it's there for life. You can't you can't take it back. So that's something he said. So I'll just share my screen in a minute, and then we'll talk about it. So share my screen, and I'll go here. Share on. Yeah. And then we'll bring it on here. Okay, this is what Enzo Maresca said. I'm here to win games and to bring this club fighting for titles. Since day one, my intention is to bring this club where it needs to be. Now, Enzo Maresca, are you lying? Or are you taking everyone else for a ride? Which one of those is correct? You know, are you lying? Because you've been saying, oh, when Chelsea were second, say Chelsea were not in the title race. Then you said Chelsea were not in the top four. No one told you that Chelsea has to be in the top four this season. What he's saying, it sounds like something that's being said by someone that's been called into the principal's office. Someone who has been called into the office of the sporting directors or called into the office of Todd Bowley and Egbali and Feliciano to say, you have to win something or you're going to get sacked. I think maybe that's the message in his head. And now, for me, I've never been one of those people who have been like, Chelsea must win the league this season. For me, I just wanted to see the team compete. I just wanted to see Chelsea compete. Just wanted to see, good football. Wanted to see Chelsea put out good performances and be at least the best of the rest. If you have your Man City ahead of you, if you have your Liverpool ahead of you, if you have your Arsenals ahead of you, you can say, okay, that ahead of us in terms of where the stage of their project, is understandable. But when you drop points to clubs like Bournemouth, drop points, to clubs like Fulham at home, and then when your style of play is examined, because you could be playing the best brand of football and still lose games. That's why it's not acceptable. It's understandable. You can say, well, we're playing the best game we can play, but we're losing games. The opposition is defending deep. We're not having the spaces. You can understand that. You can appreciate that. But when you have your team set up the way Enzo Maresca has been setting up his team, it makes you wonder, scratch your head and say, does this guy really, 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 really want to win? And it's not just an Enzo Maresca problem. For me, it seems to be the problem of modern day coaches in the Premier League, in La Liga, in the French League, French Ligue 1, in the Serie A. It seems to be an issue with modern day coaches. My style of football, my philosophy of football, it doesn't matter what's happening. It doesn't matter what the opposition does. I will play the style I want to play. Which is just silly in my opinion, because imagine you're walking down the road, pedestrian walkway, you're walking down the road, and your plan all day has been, I just want to stroll, take my time, walk in a chilled manner. I don't want to stress. I don't want to run. I just want to be chilled. And then whilst you're walking, you come across a puddle of water. What do? Do you just still stroll and walk through the water? No, you jump over it, right? You would. Because you don't want your shoes to get soaked in water. You don't want probably the dirt in the water to, stain your trousers. So you hop over it. Or if you're running, if you're walking chill previously, and then there's a riot breaks out, what do? Do you just stand there and watch the mob come towards you? No, you run to safety. You hide yourself away. So the same thing applies here. You want to play with inverted fullbacks. You want to have your inverted wingers out wide. You want to play with your centre back playing like a right back, playing like a fullback. But when the opposition brings something new to the table, when they bring a different tactics to frustrate what you're trying to do, what do? Do you still stick to that style you're trying to play? No, you shouldn't. And one of the most beautiful things in football is when you see your wingers being dynamic. You see your fullbacks being dynamic. They're overlapping, they're underlapping at pace putting balls into the box. That's one of the most exciting things you can ever see in football. But when you tie your players, say, oh no, you're never going to overlap. You will just stay in the midfield no matter what. And despite the fact that you're losing, then that would make someone like me ask you, do you really want to win? Enzo Maresca, I don't know what other Chelsea fans think about this. I don't know what other club managers think about this as well. I've just spoken about Ruben Amorim, sticking to a pattern that doesn't suit the players he has at the minute. So what do? You should be able to adapt. Look at the likes of Ancelotti for Real Madrid. They're playing against Man City. It was a bit difficult. It's okay, we change it up so we can win. But you choose to stick to one style of play during the game. Every game you can go into the game with your style of play. We play our normal formation. We have our fullbacks inverting the midfield. But while the game is going on, when the opposition change their style of play, when the opposition does something tactically to frustrate how you want to play, you should be able to say, okay, we are going to do something different. You should be able to say, oh, we will do this differently. We'll do this differently. But Enzo Maresca hasn't been doing that. He hasn't been doing that, and that he should, from the Aston Villa game, adapt. Now, a lot of people are saying going into the Aston Villa game, Cole Palmer should play as a right winger and invert into midfield, and invert as an orthodox inverted winger should be, and that would be the solution to Chelsea's problem. Now, is that the absolute solution? It's one way there. What will make that really work is if Enzo Maresca decides to unleash the fullbacks and say, Malo Gusto or Reece James, I want you now to overlap. I want you now to overlap. Once, Cole Palmer cuts into the midfield, I want you to create width behind him. That would be the way to go. Because I keep saying Cole Palmer is primarily a 10. Cole Palmer of Chelsea is primarily a 10. He can play as a winger, but that will just be a winger masquerading as a 10, because at the end of the day, he will still have to drift into midfield and remain and be creative in the midfield. Now, if he does that, I'll be happy with that, because that means he's adapted his game tactically to suit the players that are on the pitch. But for me, again, I'll feel a bit sad, because it will be mixed feelings, because when you have the likes of Madrid, that having your fullbacks overlapping beyond him would have made him even more of a threat. And then you have Cole Palmer being creative as a 10 behind the strikers. So another thing they're saying is maybe Tyreek George is going to play out wide on Saturday against Aston Villa. Now, for me, like I said I'm not one of those Cobham worshippers that every 18-year-old player from Cobham must have 30 minutes. No. If you can contribute, you come on. And then one time when young players can come on, can have an opportunity is when maybe the player who is the number one player for that spot is injured and the transfer window maybe is short, like we are now, as the transfer window right now is short, then you can say, okay, this young kid, let's give it this chance. So Tyreek George, this should be his opportunity. I prefer Tyreek George to play as that right winger as opposed to having Cole Palmer played. Cole Palmer should be in the 10 role. And I think Tyreek George is right-footed, so you probably will play on, the left wing and cut into his right foot, and then you have Pedro Neto playing as the left winger, i.e., as the right winger, inverted right winger, cutting onto his left foot. So I think maybe that's what he would go with. But for me, Enzo Maresca needs to unleash the fullbacks. He needs to unleash the fullbacks. Else, you're just making the work for your wingers more difficult. And then speaking on that, there are some videos going around, people showing videos of Estevao Willian, how he dribbled past 3 players and scored a good goal. Good. But I think some people are overhyping this player. They are setting their expectations at a level that people didn't even have for Messi at that age. That he would come and be the absolute solution. That he would come at 18 years old and absolutely dominate, men paying their mortgages at 26, 27, 30. 32-year-old defenders. He will just come and bully them, have 3 of them on him every time. Every time. This is the Premier League, you have to remember. He will get bodied if he doesn't have that support from an overlapping fullback. And not just an overlapping fullback, a fullback who is dynamic, that can overlap, underlap, and provide that kind of support. But if at every attack, Estevao William come maybe 2025, 2026 season, is always tripled up on every time, he's going to break down. We all see what is happening with Pedri. He's going to break down. So you should know that, because that's the one thing when you're playing with an inverted winger. The whole point of it is that you're able to come onto your stronger foot and whip crosses in, or come onto your stronger foot and take shots. And sometimes that is predictable. But when you have a fullback overlapping beyond you, it drags away a defender from you. But when you don't have that, then it makes it difficult for you, and it makes it easier for the defending team to crowd you out. So I think Gusto should be unleashed and allowed to overlap, else it's going to be pretty difficult. It's going to be pretty difficult for Chelsea against Aston Villa, because right now there are no games we're taking for granted. Because Enzo Maresca somehow managed to make Brighton look like prime, Bayern Munich under Hansi Flick. You remember Bayern Munich under Hansi Flick had to destroy teams with their, high press and high octane football. He made Mitoma look like someone from the Blue Lock anime. Make them look super fantastic. When we know Brighton have not been on the best of form, you lost the first game 2-1, you lost the second game 3-0. And the funny thing with that game is there was a lot of high line, no high pressing. And in football, if you high press, as if you play with a high line, but you don't high press, that is just asking yourself to get smoked by the opposition. And that's what happened 2 times in the space of, I think, less than 5 days. I think the FA Cup game was on a Tuesday, and then the next game was on a Friday. The Premier League was on a Friday, and Chelsea lost that one. So the things we're talking about today is the Ademola Lookman thing. Would you have him at your club? What do you think this statement made by Gasperini, the head coach of Atalanta? What do you think the implications are? For me, I think that just signifies that that's the end of Ademola Lookman's time at Atalanta, because for one, his contract is almost up, and he wanted to really leave in January, in the summer. If you remember, PSG wanted to sign him. He wanted to leave. For me, I'm saying, as a Chelsea fan, I would have him at Chelsea, because he is what Chelsea needs right now in that left wing spot. Would you have him as a Manchester United fan? Would you have him as an Arsenal fan? Would you have Ademola Lookman? And for me, heading towards the international break, we have to see Lookman fit, wrapped up in cotton wool from a Nigerian perspective, so he's ready for the World Cup, qualifiers. Now, there's one player I know I mentioned earlier, when I was talking about the Europa League, and that is Rafael Durushimi. He's had 4 goal contributions, in his last 2 games. So what do you think about that guy? I think he should be at this point, he should be in and around the national team. I'm not saying starting for sure, but in and around there. Like, if Boniface is out injured for some reason, he can be that standby guy. You want to call. They can say, okay, you're on standby. Boniface is injured for some reason, unable to make it. You can come and show us what you can do. Because for me, he is a very, very big talent, in my opinion. So let's see how that goes. And then going into other topics as well. From a Chelsea perspective, Noni Madueke will be out. Till the end of this international transfer break. So that's a long way to go for Chelsea. That means, like I mentioned, Tariq George would have to be very, very good if he's given the opportunity to play. And for me, I don't want to see Cole Palmer playing as an out-and-out winger, because he is going to struggle. He will struggle for sure. He's going to struggle if he plays as an out-and-out winger. That is for sure, 100%. If Cole Palmer plays out and out winger, he will struggle. That is for sure. And then Chelsea fans, what do you think about Enzo Maresca? Do you think he should be allowed to remain as Chelsea manager, and you think he's going to come good come, next season? They've put out some PR statements, that he's been collaborating with the sporting directors. They're already pointing out targets, for next season. He's really involved and all that sort of good stuff. So do you think he should remain? My opinion is this. I can't do anything to have any manager sacked or have any manager employed, obviously. But if your style of play is not a winning style of play, then you're pushing yourself towards getting sacked. That's my opinion. Because we're having so many coaches having it all their own way. My style of football, the way I want to play, philosophy of football, and then even when opponents come up with ways that sort of, counter what they're doing on the pitch, they don't respond. They don't respond to it. They don't do anything to respond to it. So that is an issue. That is an issue. I think he should address it, because when the season started, outside of the Man City game, he was very dynamic. He used to make changes with 5 minutes on the clock, 15 minutes on the clock, he would make changes. But for some reason, he stopped doing that. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on that topic. And then I want to speak about Nwaneri. Yes, I'll speak about that player again. I did a video about Nwaneri playing for Nigeria, and a lot of people have been saying a lot of things. Some people have been saying, "Oh, he's played for England under 17. That means he's already on their books. Don't talk about him." Someone's talking about his age. And then, what's odd? When Lamine Yamal played for Barcelona as a 17-year-old, nobody moved an eyebrow, raised an eyebrow. Nobody complained. No one said it was wrong. Everyone was saying he's such a wonder kid, sensational talent. At this age, look at what he can do. It's unbelievable. When Lamine Yamal took Spain, I think it was very important, and crucial for Spain's Euros victory in the Euros. Everyone he's phenomenal, a special talent, wonderful talent. Look at what he's doing at his age. And they were right to do that. They were right to praise him because he deserved all the praise he got. And what he did indeed was really phenomenal himself on the right wing, and Nico Williams on the left wing. That was really, really phenomenal from both of them. Because I think without them, Spain wouldn't have won the Euros, in my opinion. So when you see Nwaneri, I talk about Nwaneri playing for Nigerian Super Eagles, people come talk about he's too young, leave him alone. What am I doing? Am I fighting with the young man? No. I'm just saying he's a super talented player. He's got the skills, and I think he's truly a wonder kid, because for me, the way I define wonder kid is you're a kid, you're in a particular age range, and they put you in a situation where they put grown men in a club side, in a national team, and you shine and you play like you're meant to be there. Then for me, you're a wonder kid. You're not just a kid that's good, that is decent. You're actually a wonder kid. So for me, Nwaneri is an absolute wonder kid, because he's coming to the Arsenal side and he's showing that I belong here. He's showing that, you see, in this team we have men that are paying their mortgages, they're paying tuition fees for their children, but I'm meant to be here. I'm good enough to play with these guys on this pitch. So I'm saying this super talent, this wonder kid, should play for Nigeria, should be invited to play for Nigeria. Because in that 10 role, Nigerian Super Eagles, we don't really have that many people playing there. Quantity and quality. Wingers, we've got them in spades. Strikers, got them in spades. Wingbacks, fullbacks, we've got them. But when it comes to that 10 role, not that many. There's a quality, there's some numbers. So you see someone like an Nwaneri. So why would anyone be upset with him playing for Nigeria? I don't quite understand it. Then you have the people who say it doesn't suit. Why would we want him to come and play in the Nigerian system? Or the system is this, the system is that. I want you to point or identify the football federation, any country in the world that is perfect. I want you to point out any country that is perfect. Also, I want you to point out the federation that is perfect in terms of how it uses its players. I'm not saying the NFF are perfect. I'm not saying they're a good example. They have their bad sides. But what we're talking about here is the best for the Nigerian Super Eagles, getting the best players available that are eligible to play for Nigeria, to help Nigeria win trophies. Because 1 minute we are arguing, we are crying, we are screaming at the TV sets when Nigeria loses a tournament, goes out to the World Cup qualifiers, loses the AFCON final. And then on the other hand, people still don't want top class talent to play for Nigerian Super Eagles. I find that really difficult and bizarre to understand. I find that a bizarre notion that you're complaining, you cry when the team doesn't win, but each time someone says this top player should play for the national team, you have an excuse. Now, when I say no FA is perfect, look at England, for instance. We had Fikayo Tomori, incidentally, someone that would have been eligible to play for Nigeria at some point. He was playing well for AC Milan, playing well, helping them to the Scudetto. Harry Maguire was completely struggling in absolutely awful form for Man United. But who did Southgate call? Harry Maguire. So there's really no football federation out there that is perfect. But one thing you have to understand, those football federations, those national teams that win, they don't make the kind of excuses or have the kind of mindset that a lot of Nigerian football fans have, which is always making excuses when you want to bring in talent. They always want to get the best talent that they can possibly get for their teams, and that's why they keep winning. That's why they keep winning. That's why they keep winning. So this loser mentality of, oh, this player should not be playing, this player should not be invited here, oh, this struggle, that struggle. Keep that to yourself. It's your opinion. You have the right to your opinion. And there's one other person that says something that I want to talk about, and this is even more important. It's really serious. Because it goes to the perception of people, how they look at Africa as a continent, how they look at the AFCON as a tournament, how they look at the Asian Cup as a tournament, how they look at the Copa America as a tournament. I think is it Dahama? I think that was his name. Something about Nwaneri deserving to play at the highest level. And what does he mean by the highest level? I think he means the highest level is maybe playing for an European national team, playing in the Euros, that is the highest level. And by implication, he means that AFCON is sub the Euros. AFCON is beneath the Euros. Or maybe the Asian Cup as well is beneath the Euros. For me, that is nonsense talk. And for me, I would say that is a lie from the pit of hell. Every continental cup ranks at par, in my opinion. Euros rank at the same level with the AFCON. The AFCON ranks at the same level with the Oceania, Continental Cup. It ranks at par with the Asian Continental Cup. So there is no national team, there's no international tournament that you play that should rank higher than another country's continental tournament. Continent's continental tournament. The only thing that ranks higher than AFCON is the World Cup. The World Cup is here, AFCON is here, and then Euros is here as well. Asian Cup is here. They're all on the same level. All on the same level. So know this, anyone that comes to tell you, oh, the Euros is the highest, is higher than the AFCON. The player should look to play at the highest level. Stop it. Tell that bloke, that boy or that girl, that man or that woman to stop it. That's spreading misinformation, in my opinion. Every continental tournament ranks at the same level. It ranks at the same level. It means, because you can't tell me because European teams are playing a continental tournament, that means that continental tournament is more important than the tournament that African countries are playing. Don't tell me that nonsense, because I think this is what has been going on. That is why some people come and then they talk about the content, the AFCON with such, ignorance. When they say, oh, they should be moving the AFCON, they should not keep it at this point, they should move it like it's some nuisance. You have maybe a speck in your ear, you try to remove it, you're struggling, you want to ask off your ear, you don't even care where you throw it away. The AFCON is important. Maybe some Europeans feel it's not important to them. That I say some, not all, not obviously not all, because there are just a couple of people who need their brains reset. They feel the AFCON is beneath Euros, and that is not it. And that takes me to a point that I want to make. And this has to do when you're talking to dual nationals, you want to get them to play for your Nigeria, your Ghanas, your Moroccos, your Algerias. Even sometimes you have dual nationals who have Scottish and English nationalities, and when you want to get someone who has that Scottish heritage to play for Scotland, who has that Irish heritage to play for Republic of Ireland, one thing you have to understand is this: that sometimes these young players, especially the ones who have grown up in England, they've had their heads warped. They've had their brains warped. Why are you going to play for Nigeria? It means you're beneath. If you play for Nigeria, that means your career is at the low end. That means you're not ambitious enough. You're going low. If you play for Scotland, that means your career is low. Why are you going low? You're not ambitious enough. That means you're no longer a top level player. And this messes with the brains of young players. It messes with the brains of these young players. And for me, not on my watch. If you're a Nigerian out there and you feel like, playing in the AFCON is beneath a player, then you should have your head re-examined, because that is not an objective opinion. It's not even a subjective opinion, because this is a continental. You have continental international tournaments. The one in the Euros. Ordinarily, when you hear the Euros, you should know that is equal to the AFCON, and one is not higher than the other. You should get that in your head. You come and they say all manner of silly things. Oh, England he's played for under 17, so no, don't bother talking. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? For me, there always seems to be an excuse. There always seems to be an excuse. Sometimes you see a player like Etosi Aderobayo, for instance, 26 going on 27. You want to invite him. Oh, we don't want to beg anybody. Who says you're begging anybody? They say a young player who is a grassroots player, like he grew up in Nigeria, 18 years old. Oh no, he needs to play for an MPFL side first before he's invited. He's too young. No. But when you see young players for other countries, you start to sing their praises. You sing the praise of Estavayo Willian. You sing the praise of Lamine Yamal. You sing the praise of Pedri. But when you see a player that is eligible to play for Nigeria, you come up with the excuse, he's too young. We're not telling them to run for election. We're not telling them, to vote in the next president of Nigeria or to become the next president of Nigeria. Play football. That is it. And one thing, like I said in the previous video, switching your national team allegiance doesn't take away your citizenship rights. Get that in your brain, because a lot of people come and watch various videos, various content creators have put out there and say, oh, so if you're the one, would you let your child come to play for Nigeria? That doesn't mean if the person switches his nationality to Nigeria, for instance, or to Morocco, for instance, it doesn't mean his French nationality is lost. It doesn't mean his English nationality is lost, or his Spanish nationality is lost. It just means, for purposes of football, this player can only play for England, can only play for can only play for Nigeria, can only play for Morocco, can only play for Algeria, and that is it. That is it. And people act like playing for the European national team is perfect. It's not perfect. We've seen players that have made to feel like play for England, and right now they have no international career. Tammy Abraham doesn't have an international career as it is. Donzo, Gonzo, finished. It's gone. Tomori, finished. International career, gone. There's nothing he will do that will get him to play for the English national team. It's done. Finished. 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 Stephanie is done. Done. He is never going to play for England anymore. It's over. Tammy Abraham, it's over. It's done. It's done. Then he had the choice to choose between Nigeria and England. So that's, like I said, if you try to convince them and they say, "Oh no, I'm English. My dad may be from Urobo, in Delta State in Nigeria, but me, I was born in Peckham, so England is all I know." Fair dues to that player. Good on you. You play for England, no problem whatsoever. I don't have any issues with that. That's fine. That's your right completely. But when that player makes that choice, I don't want to see you when you've only played 2 games, 3 games, and you're now 30. You want to play for Nigeria. No, you stick to your choice. That's how I feel about that. But when it comes to convincing young players to play for your national team, don't tell me that nonsense. Don't give me that rubbish. Don't give me that rubbish. Oh, England is a higher country. What are you talking about? Is a better, higher place country than Nigeria. Oh, why would he come and play for Nigeria? Because there's a chance of glory playing for Nigeria. People forget. Won the AFCON, gone on Olympic gold medalists, won things. And if you want to take your team to the next level, you need to get the best available players that you can get. And I like using the example of Morocco. I like using Morocco as an example. Because in the last World Cup, I think Morocco got to, was it the quarterfinal or the semi-final? Morocco. Right? They have been intentional about convincing players with dual nationality, maybe Moroccan and Dutch, Moroccan and German, Moroccan and England and English, to play for Morocco, and they've been succeeding. A lot of players have been choosing to play for Morocco. Even Congo have been doing the same thing. So why do we always come up with excuses? And sometimes we'd rather have players like, with all due respect, Kelechi Iheanacho, that is doing nothing for his club. You want him to come and play ahead of an outstanding superstar talent. For me, no. At this point, countries like Nigeria should become obsessed with winning, not just going to the World Cup, playing 3 games and coming back. You should be obsessed with winning. And how do you show that you're obsessed with winning? You show that by how you go on to recruit talents for your team. The level of coach you appoint. That shows that, yeah, we're obsessed to win. And then you ignore anything that doesn't have to do with winning. Anything that doesn't help you with winning. That doesn't help you win. You ignore all that and keep it aside. You ignore all that and keep it aside. And look at things that help you win. So for me, that is how I look. That's how I look at it. For me, if the talent is someone who plays in Nigeria, grassroots football, he's super good, he's excellent, you get him in. But in saying that, we all know, because of the way the Nigerian Professional Football League or Nigerian Premier Football League is, the best players would never ever be in Nigeria. It's not possible. Because once you show some ability, once you score 15, 20 goals in the league, you are gone. You're going to Europe, you're going to Norway, you're going to, the French league, you're going to the Belgian league. Because let's face it, these players are professional players. We as fans, we love the game, but they love the game as well, but it is their job. So you're working, you're looking for the organization that pays you the best money, that pays you the most money, that gives you the best opportunity, to be successful. So they are gone. So the issue of home base is redundant, because any home base player that plays very well, that shows any level of a world-class ability, is gone. Ademola Lookman, for instance, is gone. I've been talking about him. I've been waxing lyrical about him because he's such a phenomenal talent. He is a world-class talent. I did a reaction video about him. You can go check out that video on the channel after this. But please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let's move on. So your top players will always be outside the country. That is granted. That is granted. And people also act like, England, for instance, is only people that come out of the soil of London that play for England. You don't have any dual nationals that play for England. No, you do. You do. Anthony Gordon. He's Scottish and he has Scottish and English national heritage, but he played for England instead. Liam Delap is Irish. I think his parents are Irish. He was born in England. So he can choose to play for either one of them, but the way things are going, he may turn out to play for England. And as long as he performs, as long as he's good enough, nobody cares. That should be the approach of Nigeria. That should be the absolute approach. So speaking about Nwaneri, he will play for Nigeria. He will play for people say, leave him alone. Am I holding him? Am I fighting him? Nothing. I'm only saying when you want to make your choice, Nigeria is the choice to make. I'm only saying NFF, when you're going out to scout for players for a national team, Nwaneri is a phenomenal talent that you should be looking at. He's a world-class talent. I'm only saying that if you as a football fan, you think Lamine Yamal, it was okay for him to go to the Euros with Spain and play and be phenomenal in the final, then it will be hypocritical of you to say Nwaneri is too young to play for the Nigerian Super Eagles. It will be hypocritical of you. Because what they always say is, if he's good enough, he's old enough. And of course, you have people that will give him guidance in the team. Ademola Lookman, for instance, has walked the path that some people like me want Nwaneri to walk. He is a dual national as well. He's played, underage tournaments age grade tournament for England, and he chose to play for Nigerian national team. He's won the African Player of the Year, and that's another thing. Some people want to say, "Oh, but the African Footballer of the Year is not at par with the European Footballer of the Year." Come off it, man. Come off it. Come off it. Any continental award ranks at par, same level. If it's the only individual award that ranks higher than African Player of the Year is World Player of the Year. If it's European Player of the Year, if it's South American Player of the Year, whatever, it ranks at par with African Player of the Year. So don't let anybody deceive you and say, "Oh, European Player of the Year, that means it's better that the player is ranked higher than African Player of the Year." No. One of the reasons I started this channel, outside of my love for football, talking about Chelsea, a team I've supported for decades right now, apart from that, is to also talk about Nigerian football. It's to also highlight things that other people will not highlight to you. Because some people just want you as a Nigerian football fan to be subservient. They want you to rank anything concerning Africa to be below Europe or below America and others. For instance, how can anyone rank the US men's national team ahead of the Super Eagles? How? They play in the CONCACAF. which team in CONCACAF would you say is better than teams in Africa in Africa and are playing the AFCON? Mention them. So there is Mexico, okay, Mexico, US, then maybe Canada. Can you tell me Mexico is really better than Ghana? Or that Mexico really, when you look at the way Congo is, or Morocco or Algeria, can you say with your chest out and without lying, that Mexico is better than Algeria, player for player? Or can you look at the US men's national team and say player for player, they're better than Nigerian Super Eagles? No, you can't say that. But the only reason that some people, even some Nigerians who rank, the US men's national team higher than the Nigerian Super Eagles is because of how their brains have been warped and twisted. Look at it. Believe your eyes. Don't believe me. Believe what you see with your eyes. What you see with your eyes. Believe that. Forget about what I say. Believe what you see with your eyes. Victor Osimhen is striker for Nigeria. Who striker in the US men's national team can you compare? Can you say is at Osimhen's level? Ademola Lookman, who can you say is at level? Pulisic is a nice, decent player, but is he at Ademola Lookman's level? No, he's not. So Boniface, who is the player in the US men's national team that's on the same level with Victor Boniface? No. So that's another thing. They'll tell you, oh, this player chose to play for the US men's national team because they're a higher team. No, they are not. And what the point I'm making in all this is the economy of a country, the economic status, has nothing to do with how you rank the team. For instance, when it comes to economy, the US is ahead of Brazil. True, no one is going to argue that. But when you talk about the actual players, player for player, you can't bring them into the same conversation. You cannot do it. So why do we do it for Nigeria? And sometimes, and this message I'm passing on is not just for non-Nigerians, it's for Nigerians as well, because a lot of Nigerians that have YouTube channels, that have platforms everywhere, they talk about things. When they speak, you just shake your head and wonder what level of ignorance is this? So I want to play for Nigeria, play for a higher level. What higher level are you talking about? Is it not the same place you're going to compete? Fair enough. They play Euros. Nigeria plays AFCON. And when in terms of your ranking, AFCON and Euros are par. The next place you should be going to is the World Cup. So are you not looking to compete against England, against Germany, against Spain, against Italy, against the US men's national team, against Canada, against Italy, against all these things? Are you not looking to compete against them? And shouldn't your ambition then be to get the best players you can get? Okay, Tim Weah that plays for the US men's national team, have no issues with him playing for the US men's national team because it is his right, because he has Liberian citizenship via his father, George Weah, that played for Chelsea, that played for AC Milan, that was African Footballer of the Year, World Player of the Year, and he has US nationality as well. I think he was born in the US. He has that US nationality as well, so that's fine. He plays for the US. But you see, no one ever said, "Oh, why didn't you play for Liberia?" No, because the Liberian FA were not active enough to get him. He made his choice. He made his choice to play for US. That's fine. That's fine. And you have a lot of players that could have played for Liberia, that play for other teams, and Liberia has not qualified for the AFCONs in how many years, and will not even see World Cup in the next 10 years if things continue to go that way. And as Africans, as Nigerians, we should get tired of we're going to the World Cup to be colorful. Oh, they bring so much color. Oh, look at their attire. Looks so colorful. You should get tired of being the color in tournaments. Looks so colorful. You get smashed 3-0 by Brazil. Looks so colorful. You get smashed 4-0 by England. Looks so colorful. You get smashed 5-0 by Germany. And then you come back. Oh, the color, the Africans, they brought the color. No. How do you stop just being some sideshow? Is by getting the best players available that you can get. By getting the absolute best players that you can get. The absolute best players. And this is a golden era for Nigerian football. Because every day, anywhere you turn and look, you see top class players, top class talent. Victor Osimhen used to be the guy. He is obviously our best player. Then you have Victor Boniface. What he's doing for Bayer Leverkusen. You have Ademola Lookman. What he's doing for Atalanta. He should be living there anyway, given what the head coach has said. You know, you've got Kanu Chukwuemeka that should be convinced to play for Super Eagles. You know, you got Crisanto Uche. Look at what he's doing in La Liga. You've got top level players, top level talent. And you want to tell me that you want to leave some of them on the table. Oh, and let's not play for Nigeria. Don't allow anybody mess with your mind. And like I said, there are two ways to look at it. There are two sides to this, to dual nationals playing for Nigeria or playing for a country. If the player is not approached, if the player doesn't feel like he's wanted, and he chooses to play for another country, then it's the fault of the Nigerian FA. But if the Nigerian FA, if the Nigerian Football Federation approaches this player, play for us, approach his parents, play for us, we would like you to play for this national team. You know, you're going to be very important for us. You help bring glory to the national team. You help us win the AFCON, African Cup of Nations. You help us win the World Cup, because we want to build a team that could be the first African national team to win, you know, the World Cup. And we're putting together the best talents home and away, to win, so that we can win this World Cup. And the player says, no, I know my mom is from Edo State, but I grew up in Spain. That's all I know. All I know is Madrid, so I want to play for Spain. That's fine. You've done your bit. If the player doesn't play for Nigeria, that is that player's own issue. That is his own decision. But what we as the people should not do is come up with negative narrative about those players playing for Nigeria. Now, there are two players that have not needed convincing. I've talked about them before. There are two players, Abube Oluchukwu and Dube Meze. Dube Meze, I think he is Ebere Eze's brother. I think he's the youngest brother in that family. I'm not quite sure. But both of them have opted to play for Nigeria. I think they've been invited to the under-20, AFCON. And then someone dropped in the comments talking about they're not top talents and all that. I was like, come on, can we give some of this negative thing a rest? Give it a rest sometimes. It doesn't make you look smart or hyper or super intelligent when you make some remarks. Because it seems like every time there's an excuse. If a player chooses to play for Nigeria, chooses of their own volition without much convincing, chooses to play for Nigeria, oh, he's not that good. This one, England did not invite him. That means he's not that good. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Then if the player is, in the crossroads and is convincing, oh, we don't want to beg anybody. Then if the player is someone that grew up from Nigerian grassroots, from maybe a Beyond Limit or, Bagada FC, or Atlantic Business FC, plays there as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old and grows, becomes 18. And then if I say, oh no, he's too young, oh, don't invite him. Why would you invite him? Then some come with some weird argument. Some could perform for his club in Europe. So, the fact that he performed well for his club in Europe doesn't mean he'll perform well for a national team. What are people talking about? And that's why I say it's time for Nigeria, for the NFF, and other African countries and other countries that have not so fancied, countries to win tournaments. It's time for those countries to become more obsessed with winning than that loser ego. You You know, some people, I'm sure you know, I'll just give an illustration before I end the video. You know, some people where they don't have a job, but the moment you offer them a job, maybe as maybe to work in a warehouse, to be a plumber, to be a maintenance guy, they say, "Oh no, no, I can't do that job. Why would I do that job? I can't do." But you're not making any money. You're not, and you don't have a job. You're not earning any salary. You're not earning any wages. You beg for money, but someone is offering you a job. No, I don't want to do that job. No, 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 I don't want to do it. No, no. How would I bring myself down to do that job? And then they do that, and then the next minute they're begging for money. So that is loser's ego. It's come to the point where you should keep that loser's ego to one side. Stop making, oh, this player shouldn't, we don't want to beg anybody. It doesn't matter. Like, and people like to send misinformation. Like George Eleni Kenna, he is eligible to play for Nigeria only at this point. He doesn't have French citizenship yet. He's only eligible to play for Nigeria at this minute. And this is where the NFF should act fast. But some people say, oh, we don't want to beg him. Has the NFF invited him? Have they invited him? And why haven't they? The other day, he scored 2 goals for his Monaco side in Ligue 1. He scored 2 goals. In their 7-0 victory, he scored 2 goals. Chuba Akpom has been eligible to play for Nigeria. He has switched nationality since 2019. So what are we doing? So thanks for everybody. Thanks to everyone for watching this video. Thanks who watched from the beginning of the video, who's been supporting the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. Share this video to anyone you think that may be interested, that should be interested as well in this video. So we're having more live streams like this, every week, where we'll talk about everything that happened in the world of football, and also hone in and focus in on issues affecting Nigerian football as well. So at this point, I've come to the end of this video. I'd like to say, do have a splendid rest of your day. Stay well.